20-year-old Filipino tennis star Alex Ayala has sent Melbourne Park crowds into an absolute frenzy. We'll go live to Ollie Haig, who's in Garden Square for us this evening.
Stop everything. Put the tennis rackets down. Close the live scores. Forget the forehands, the backhands, the highlight reels, and the polite post-match dilemma. Interviews. Pull up a chair, not courtside, but in the center of the glass-walled corporate boardroom. Because this isn't about tennis anymore. This is about power and survival. And right now, behind the polished press releases and the glossy tournament promos, the Women's Tennis Association is staring at a question that no executive wants to say out loud. What happens when your entire atmosphere, your television spike, and your viral buzz depend on one player? Tomorrow morning, the sports networks will sell you a clean, reassuring narrative. They'll talk about the depth of the tour. They'll celebrate par. They'll highlight healthy global growth. It will sound stable and controlled, but peel back the PR gloss. And the conversation inside executive suites sounds very different. Because professional tennis isn't sustained by romance. It's sustained by broadcast rights and sponsorship contracts worth tens of millions of dollars. Luxury watch brands, airlines, and global banks. They don't sign $50 million deals because they admire a cross-court backhand. They sign because they're buying energy, a guaranteed spectacle. Sponsors want one thing: certainty. They want to know that when the camera pans across center court during the time of the quarterfinal, it reveals a packed stadium vibrating with noise. They want millions of viewers associating that electric atmosphere with their brand logo flashing courtside. Here's the uncomfortable truth insiders whisper about. Grand slams or slams, that guarantee hasn't always existed. There's even a quiet phrase circulating in circles. Circles the fake 1,000 problem. Build a beautiful 10,000-seat arena. Offer massive prize money. Schedule 2 top 10 players for a marquee match. And then 800 scattered spectators politely clap in the empty lower bowl. It doesn't translate well on television. The optics matter. And for years, the tour has been trying to manage those optics. Then something changed. A young star began rising through the rankings, winning matches with relentless baseline pressure and shot making. But it wasn't just results, it was the reaction. When Alexandra Ayala stepped on the court, the atmosphere transformed. Stadiums that once felt like quiet country clubs suddenly roared like football arenas. Flags waved. Chants echoed. Merchandise sold out. Social media exploded. Asian television ratings surged. The energy wasn't polite. It was volcanic. For a moment, executives exhaled. Here it was the spark, the cultural ignition, the proof that the product could feel urgent and essential again. When she played, cameras didn't need creative angles to hide empty seats. The visuals sold themselves. The numbers followed. Engagement spiked. Clips trended. Attendance surged. It felt like momentum. It is a revival. But here's the business. Reality, no one wants to confront. What happens when your surge is concentrated in one gravitational center? In corporate risk assessments, there's a phrase, single dependency. It's when an entire system leans too heavily on one pillar. Remove the pillar, and everything shakes. In several tournaments, a pattern began to emerge. When I played, the venue overflowed. When she won, the next round stayed vibrant. But when the umpire gamed, the game set, mat lost, and something dramatic followed. Crowds didn't gradually thin. They vanished. Within minutes of her walking off court, exits filled. Concession lines disappeared. Entire sections emptied before the next match even began warm-ups. A reigning Grand Slam champion could be pre-play to play, and half the arena would already be dark. Fan anecdote. That's a business vulnerability because sponsors aren't just evaluating peak moments. They're analyzing consistency. A sponsor doesn't pay for one explosive match. They pay for sustained visibility across sessions. They expect a full day of engagement, not a 2-hour spike followed by silence. When 90% of the atmosphere evaporates between matches, it creates uncomfortable questions. Are fans buying tickets for the tour or for a single name? Is the ecosystem diversified or dangerously concentrated? And here's where the anxiety deepens. Global tours are built on narrative balance, the belief that multiple stars can carry primnose. Those rivalries extend beyond the storyline, that if one player exits early, the show continues at full volume. If audience passion becomes hyper-specific, the structural model shifts. The Yala Army phenomenon is powerful. It's cultural. It's organic. It's authentic. But from a boardroom perspective, authenticity doesn't eliminate risk. It amplifies it because cultural, emotional, and emotional are volatile. A superstar loses a tight 3-set battle. Devoted fans leave heartbroken. They don't linger for neutral matches. They came for her journey, not the broader draw. That's not a criticism of fans. It's human nature, but in corporate terms, it introduces instability. Executives now face a strategic dilemma: lean into the phenomenon and risk overexposure, or attempt to rebalance spotlight distribution and risk cooling the very post-match fire driving engagement. There is no easy answer. What makes this moment so fascinating and so tense is that both truths can exist simultaneously. A's rise has electrified the sport in markets that were previously underleveraged. She's opened new demographics, sparked youth interest, and energized broadcasts. She's proof that the sport can still ignite passion at scale, but passion centered around one epicenter can create aftershocks elsewhere. If one match feels like a World Cup final and the next feels like a practice session, sponsors notice the contrast. Broadcast partners notice the drop-off curves. Data analysts notice the engagement cliffs. None of this means collapse. It means recalibration. The tour's challenge isn't managing success. It's distributing it, turning a singular phenomenon into a sustainable ecosystem, transforming cultural ignition into structural growth. Because professional sports don't survive on viral spikes alone. They survive on repeatable energy, on layered star power, on the promise that every session, not just one, feels essential. Right now, the spotlight is intense. The crowds are loud. The metrics are dramatic. But the real story unfolding isn't on the baseline. It's in conference rooms where executives study attendance graphs and television curves and ask a quiet question. Can we turn this wave into a foundation? Or are we riding something too concentrated to control? One player has proven she can fill arenas. The next chapter will determine whether the entire tour can learn to do the same.
Yala is the match that I was looking at, and there's people like wrapping around the stadium just trying to get in, which is pretty crazy. And I mean, it's cool to see and it's exciting, but obviously, you know, for fan experience, I don't know, because I'm not living that same experience, but hopefully the event can.
And recognizable names in women's tennis didn't just speak out recently. She detonated a conversation, not with a forehand winner, not with a post-match fist pump, but with something far more unsettling. A spotlight on the business side of this sport that nobody in power wants exposed. Now, I want you to picture something. You're not a fan in the stands. You're not a player grinding on the baseline. You are the executive producer inside a major television broadcast control room during a prime-time semifinal. Sponsors have paid premium rates. Commercial inventory is sold out. The network has promised a global spectacle. The director calls for a wide-angle shot of center court, and what fills the screen? Empty plastic seats. Rows and rows of bright, hollow, unmistakably vacant chairs. In an instant, the energy collapses. The illusion shatters. Camera operators are barked at through their headsets. Stay tight. Tight on the players. No upper deck shots. The broadcast cuts to close-ups. Sweat, shoelaces, ball bounces, anything to avoid revealing that the arena looks like a weekday practice session instead of a world-class event. Audio engineers scramble. The natural sound is brutal. The ball echoes. Sneakers squeak. The silence between points feels cavernous. Someone quietly suggests sweetening the feed with artificial crowd murmur just to soften the emptiness. This isn't drama. It's an optical crisis because sponsors are watching too. In corporate boardrooms across time zones, executives stare at the broadcast feed and ask a very uncomfortable question. Where is the atmosphere we were promised? They didn't invest tens of millions for silence. They invested in electricity. They invested in the thunder that erupts when Alexandra Ayala steps onto court. They invested in the viral clips, the flags waving, the emotional surge that makes a tennis match feel like a global cultural event. If that surge vanishes the moment she exits the draw, the sponsors aren't sentimental. They're analytical, and analytics don't lie. Corporate partners operate on return on investment. If engagement spikes only when one specific player competes and drops off dramatically when she doesn't, the valuation model starts to wobble. The fear isn't about one quiet match. It's about structural dependency. Inside executive suites, there's a growing realization. Are sponsors investing in the Women's Tennis Association, or are they investing in the ELA effect? That distinction matters because if a tour's atmosphere hinges disproportionately on one young star's survival in the bracket, the business becomes fragile. One bad draw, one off day, one minor injury, one early upset. Suddenly, attendance dips. Television ratings soften. Social media engagement declines. That's the nightmare scenario. And it creates a brutal catch-22. The tour desperately needs the Ayala army. They need the ticket sales, the viral moments, the passionate chants that transform ordinary sessions into headline events. Promotional packages rely on those visuals. Sales teams use that footage to pitch future sponsors. But here's the problem. Alexandra Ella is still developing. She's young. She's grinding through physically demanding matches against seasoned veterans. She doesn't dominate with aces. She battles in long rallies. Losses are inevitable. Growth requires setbacks. Yet, the financial ecosystem subtly begins to hinge on her avoiding those setbacks. That's not just pressure, that's weight. When the millisecond of defeat hits and fans begin filing toward the exits, executives feel the floor shift beneath them. Because they recognize something uncomfortable, they may have failed to convert passion for one player into loyalty for the broader tour. They assumed that if they got the Ayala fans through the gates, those fans would organically fall in love with every match that followed. That assumption may have been corporate hubris. Fans aren't spreadsheets. They're emotional beings. Many didn't buy tickets to support the tour. They bought tickets to witness her journey, to cheer her milestones, to participate in a cultural moment that feels personal and historic. You can't simply redirect that emotional loyalty to a higher-ranked European or American player and expect the same intensity. Rankings don't create movements. Stories do. Thera Army isn't just a fan base. It's a cultural wave. And cultural waves don't operate on corporate scheduling logic. They don't stay because they're told to stay. They show up because something resonates deeply. And here's where the ripple effects get serious. If major sponsors begin questioning consistency and start renegotiating deals or worse, pulling back funding, the impact spreads fast. Prize money shrinks. Tournament quality dips. Operational budgets tighten. Smaller events struggle. Suddenly, the entire ecosystem feels strain. And who absorbs that pressure? The same 20-year-old player whose presence ignited the surge in the first place. Imagine stepping onto court knowing that not only are you competing against elite athletes, but your performance indirectly influences broadcast contracts, sponsor, confidence, and ticket sales. That's not fair. That's not healthy. That's an enormous psychological burden for any developing athlete. No single player should be expected to carry the economic weight of a global tour. Which brings us to the fans, to the ELA army. Your passion is powerful. It's authentic. It's shifting metrics in real time. But here's the honest question. Executives are quietly debating when she loses. Do you switch off? When she's knocked out, do you leave the stadium or do you stay and invest in the broader product? This isn't judgment. It's curiosity about the psychology driving this phenomenon. Are you here for her exclusively? Or are you open to discovering new narratives within the same arena? And to longtime tennis fans watching this unfold, does it concern you that atmosphere fluctuates so dramatically depending on one player's presence? Do you believe sponsors are justified in demanding consistent spectacle? Or should the tour radically rethink its marketing strategy, building layered storylines so no single loss triggers a vacuum? because that may be the real solution. Not suppressing the movement, not dampening the passion, but diversifying the spotlight, elevating rivalries, humanizing more players, creating reasons for fans to stay beyond a single name, transforming a cultural ignition into a sustainable ecosystem. The current dynamic is fragile, and fragility makes corporations nervous, but fragility can also be a catalyst. If the tour acknowledges the imbalance and adapts, if it learns how to convert peak energy into lasting engagement, it doesn't have to be a crisis. It can be evolution. The needy, uncomfortable conversations happening in boardrooms aren't about silencing stars. They're about sustainability. And sustainability requires depth. So, let's have the conversation openly. Is this a temporary imbalance during the rise of a superstar? Or is it a warning sign about over-reliance on singular narratives? Can the WTA transform viral electricity into structural stability? Or will sponsor anxiety dictate the next phase of the sport? These aren't surface-level debates. They shape prize pools, development pathways, broadcast deals, athlete pressure. The mainstream coverage may focus on match scores and press conference quotes, but the real story might be unfolding in spreadsheets and sponsorship decks. And it's worth talking about without fear, without spin, without pretending. The economics don't matter because in modern professional sports, atmosphere isn't just entertainment. It's currency. And right now, that currency is fluctuating in ways that everyone from fans to executives to players needs to understand.